Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Katawa Shoujo Part 8. Today we finished walking back to the dorms with Lilly and Hanako. Let's continue. Being that it's so late, the lack of students around probably helps. The odd one or two can be seen scurrying to and from the dorms trying to eke the most out of their approaching curfews, but no more. All that can be heard is our footsteps, in addition to Lily's cane regularly gently tapping the ground in front of her. It's nice to finally be able to relax a bit after the mad rush during school. Without even noticing it, I let out a small yawn. Tired? Yeah, still getting used to the flow of things, I guess. The, thing with Shizune took me kind of off guard, though. I grit my teeth a little at the candid mention of their rather public spat. That said, I do want to sort out what in the world was behind it. About that. I'm sorry about it being so public. Shizune and I go back some ways. Her voice seems slightly irritated as she remembers Shizune, obviously unwilling to discuss it any further. I glanced to Hanako for her views on this, but her expression is, unsurprisingly, evasive and difficult to read. Either way, I guess her apologizing for it is something, even if my curiosity goes unanswered. I'll be glad once the festival is over, in any case. The change of topic's welcome, clearing the thickening air quickly. I could imagine. My old school's festivals were a lot more low-key than this. Yamaku stresses the idea of a school community, so the staff likes to make our festivals on such special occasions. And yet the students are the ones who do the work. What an unfair world. Hanako and Lily both chuckle in agreement, savoring the fact that none of the staff around here are grumbling. I suppose coming from a strict all-girls school helped me a bit with Yamaku. Compared to there, Yamaku is much more relaxed. That'd go away towards explaining her well-bred speech and behavior in any case. As we come up to the dormitories, it eventually comes time to leave for our respective rooms. See ya, Lily. Hanako. The two both give polite nods before setting off to the women's dorms just next to the guys. As is to be expected of such an arrangement, there's a staff member casually patrolling around outside to prevent any nighttime shenanigans. Walking past him, I quickly stretch my arms and rub my neck, both quite sore after having worked on the floor for so long before walking to my room. It feels good to actually have direction, though. After so long in the hospital, the everyday facts of studying homework and teachers seem almost a blessing. I guess if things continue like this, my time at Yamaku might turn out okay. I'm feeling tired, so I set my alarm clock to wake me up as late as I could afford, while still making it to the first class. The nurse's voice is almost nagging in the back of my head about morning jogs. I make a resolution to make up for it by going for a walk after school tomorrow. Emi won't care either way, I bet. And another day comes to an end. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. Love this music. And a dawn of a new day. I wake up and take a hot shower. Yay, no naked Kenji! Back in my room, the first thing I see is the familiar row of medication bottles lined up on top of my dresser, and it makes me depressed as usual. It's annoying. I thought I was okay. I thought I had made my peace with this thing, gotten over it. But what I really did, I allowed myself to forget that I have a problem. Being here really reminds me of the reality, and trying to fight against it just hurts. Reflecting on it is only going to do so much. I've done this before, for months. It seems like it's time to get over it. If I allow myself to forget that my life is definitely not going to be as long as those of others, I won't get anywhere. My life may be different from others, but it is a life in progress. That is how I'll rationalize it. I down the usual handful of pills, trying to push the sudden dreary feeling out of my head. Then I prepare to head out to class early as usual. As I step into the hallway, I notice Kenji coming around the hallway corner, stealthily making his way over to his own room with a large bag. As he sneaks past me soundlessly like a ninja hiding in plain sight, I call out to him. Hey! He jumps at the sound of my voice. Oh, hey man, I didn't notice you there. I'm really tired. I think it's more like he didn't see me, but that's not the issue. Where have you been this early? Shopping? Nah, I wasn't shopping. Sometimes I have to visit the math teacher. Yeah, I figured it would be a good idea to find out when the next exam is, since he tells you in advance if you want. So then, what's in the bag? I thought I'd go shopping while I was outside. I need supplies to continue to fight against the vast feminist conspiracy.
Okay. I thought you didn't go outside.
I wear a hat now. I decide to not point out that he is not wearing a hat. An awkward silence settles between us, and then Kenji breaks it by pushing his door open slowly, releasing a creaking sound into the air that only makes the moment seem more awkward. He sets the bag down inside his room and then closes the door. I'm surprised you went out of your way to find out a test date. Trying to take advantage of an opportunity to study is pretty diligent. I never study. Oh. I just wanted to know when the next test day was. I'm still going to take it, duh. I need to know so that I know what day I can't afford to skip class. He usually sends out updates on that crap on my phone, so I had to step out and check up on it. And why do you have to go out when you can get it on your phone? I don't carry a phone. What do you mean you don't carry a phone? You mean you just leave it at home? Nah, I don't use phones. I don't have a phone. Phones. I have no phone. Why don't you have a phone? How could you not have a phone? No phone at all? No phone. I just don't like phones. Actually, I'm kind of scared of them. I don't know why. I think it's some kind of repressed trauma. But basically, when I hear a phone, I get nervous. It's my darkest secret. I have two theories on it. Either I have some fear of receiving some undefined, ominous, life-altering doom call, or I was beaten with a phone in the past. Beaten so badly I can't remember it. Beaten in the head. Well, where else could I get beaten with a phone that would make me unable to remember it? The ass? Unexpectedly logical. I feel very depressed now. Sensing this conversation is more or less over, Kenji opens his door again and prepares to head inside. Yeah, I'm going to sleep, dude. Have a good one. Class is going to start in like 20 minutes. I already did something today. Too tired to go to school. Hey, you need some lip balm? I accidentally bought 2 because I thought the store had started selling individual AA batteries. Thanks, but no thanks. Whatever, man. He swiftly enters his lair, finally letting me go to class. For a change, I'm not among the first ones to come to morning class. Instead, almost everyone else seems to be here already. I recognize most of my class by their faces by now, though the names escape me still. The class goes on lazily. I think I'm starting to get into the rhythm of the school. I have even stopped worrying about taking notes and being overly attentive. The first days, I was pretty high-strung in class. Muto finishes his lecture about electricity early, but continues without a pause about the festival. So, as you know, the festival is on the day after tomorrow. I hope everyone's projects are going to be successful this year. Have a good time, but also come Sunday. Please keep the meaning of this festival in your minds. Games and fried food! Everyone bursts out in laughter, and so do I. Yes, thank you, Mikado. But what I meant was more... The remainder of the sentence is buried beneath the ring of the lunch bells, and everyone starts packing their things. Muto deliberates for a moment, but since almost nobody seems to pay attention anymore, he gives up and sits down. It's crowded in the hallway, or as crowded as hallways in this school probably get. Most of the students seem to be heading down for the cafeteria. Isao! I'm going to make you a one-time only super extra special lunch offer. Emi's homemade lunchboxes and the privilege of enjoying them in private with 2 bombshell beauties. Her overly flirtatious sales pitch echoes in the hallway, a remarkable feat since it's full of people. Emi strikes a very confident-looking pose as though as an attempt to one-up her own ridiculousness, puffing her very modest chest and making the V for victory sign with her hand. Sounds delicious. To what do I owe this honor of being invited? You stood there looking really lost and sad, so I thought you could use some company. That is probably the most depressing reason imaginable. So how about it? You're probably really lonely and would eat that awful cafeteria food all alone otherwise. Yeah. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Sure, I'll have your lunch offer. With pleasure. Let's go to the roof. The roof? Why the roof? Because that's where we eat lunch. And if I don't get up there, then she'll probably wander off, and then I just know she'll go hungry because she never packs a lunch for herself. Who will? Come with me. Without answering my question or waiting for a response, she grabs me by the arm and drags me through the hallways. I attempt to make conversation on the way. Why do you have an extra lunch? Emi smiles guiltily. Actually, it's yesterday's lunch. I slipped in a run at lunch and forgot to eat it. Huh. The stairway to the roof is a little dilapidated, but has clearly been used recently. At the top of the stairs is a door complete with missing padlock. I wonder who the intrepid individual was that removed the lock. Emi shoves the door open and steps beaming into the sunlight. Suddenly, a tall, dark stranger appears out of nowhere, standing imposingly in front of us. Emi flinches back, almost falling back down the stairs. Eek! Hello.
Yipes! You scared me, Rin.
Wait, isn't she?
Hello.
Noticing that Rin is speaking to me, Emi looks curiously at me.
You two know each other?
I look confusedly at Emi. She's that friend of yours? Rin has turned her gaze towards the clouds drifting above the school. I didn't know you knew this person, Emi. The awkward silence lasts only for a few seconds until Emi lets out a tiny giggle, shrugging the coincidence off.
I invited He's out for lunch. If you know him, that's just better.
Oh? Does this mean I don't get food, or did you invite him for lunch without the lunch?
Neither. I have food for three.
Nice thinking. They walk to the other end of the roof while I stay at the clock tower for a while, taking in the atmosphere. There is nobody else but us here. I guess the roof is not as popular as it is in other schools. A few run-down benches and tables are scattered around the edges, perhaps in an attempt to make the rooftop look less desolate. The small pebbles covering the roof rattle beneath our feet. I peek through the chain-link fence to take a look at the school grounds and beyond. Students are strolling in pairs and groups around the quadrangle and at the cafeteria. A few delivery trucks are driving past the school towards the convenience store nearby. Somewhere, a watchdog barks at a passerby. Somehow, when I look towards the town center, the small town feel strikes me very strongly, almost palpably. The hectic lifestyle of a big metropolis seems so far away and foreign here. Nobody has to run to catch a bus like their life depended on it, or get their senses overloaded by the neon lights and traffic jams. I feel surprisingly optimistic about this new life of mine, looking at my new hometown, even if it's going to be mine for only one short year. Finding out about my illness and having to move away from home all came so suddenly, I haven't had time to think how I feel about it. When I step out of the shadow of the clock tower to the open, I feel warmth touching my back. The sun shines from a perfectly clear cerulean sky. A cool breeze sweeping over the rooftop makes me shiver, but only briefly. The wind carries the scent of trees and flowers, not smog and car exhaust like it used to, just a few weeks ago. Emi settles on a bench with Rin in tow and produces one big and two small lunch boxes from her bag.
Come on, Hisao, what are you waiting for?
She is beckoning me to join them, making room on the already small bench. I seat myself on the corner of the bench to take as little space as possible. It's pretty cramped, but somehow all three of us fit on it. Impressive view. Emi suppresses a giggle and places a lunchbox in front of Rin and hands another lunchbox to me.
Here you go, lunch as promised.
Homemade, no less. I'm impressed. Wow, this looks really good.
Thanks. I make it myself when I can.
Conversation dies off as I said about the business of feeding myself. Taking a few bites, I glance up and notice Rin deftly opening the lunchbox and popping a forkful of food into her mouth using only her feet. Even though I've seen it before, I can't help but be impressed at her dexterity. It's also a reminder of the sort of place I am in right now. Will I ever get used to sights such as this? I can't decide if getting used to such a thing would be a good thing or a bad thing either. Does getting used to this place mean that I'm giving up on being a normal person? Or does it just mean that I'm becoming more understanding about those around me? I'm distracted from my thoughts by the sight of Emi tearing into her lunch as if it had insulted her ancestors. You seem pretty hungry. Emi looks up, mouth half full, and swallows before nodding.
My morning run always works up an appetite. Which is great, because then I burn through lunch pretty quickly. Helps me keep my girlish figure.
What would happen if you lose it? Would you become a man? I very nearly choke on my lunch trying not to laugh.
It's a figure of speech.
Does your figure have to run in the mornings too? Do you always talk like this? Talk like what? Like what? I think that answers my question. Never mind. So, I struggle to think of small talk and settle on the obvious question. How'd you two meet? Rin seems content to let Emi answer this question.
Someone in the housing department thought that we'd complement each other well, so we were assigned rooms next to one another.
Complement each other? Like shoes in a suit. Huh?
Put us together and we've got all our limbs, get it?
Ah.
So I started helping Rin get ready in the mornings, and that was that. I mean, you can't help someone get dressed every morning and not get along.
I see. Rin chooses this moment to interject. I have trouble with shirts. Right. That seems fairly obvious.
Really?
Kind of. This isn't helping, but at least Emi seems to find the whole thing funny. That, combined with the fact that Rin is genuinely curious, makes me feel slightly better and yet confused. I mean, you've got no arms. So, putting on a shirt seems like one of those things that would be difficult. You know what? I'm just going to stop talking now. It'll save me a lot of trouble in the long run. Rin nods in what I suspect is meant to be a sage manner. I see. The conversation dies as I turn my attention back to my lunch. It's really quite good. Emi finishes her lunch first and makes a contented noise.
Ah, that was good!
As she busies herself with cleaning up her lunch, Rin speaks up. I'm thirsty.
Oh, I almost forgot about that. Sorry.
With a flourish, she reaches into her bag and removes a trio of juice boxes. She tosses me one that appears to be cranberry juice, one to Rin that appears to be some kind of strawberry milk, complete with pink color scheme, and keeps a equally pink box of some kind of fruit punch for herself. Rin dexterously stabs her straw through the top of her box and begins to drink. I'm once again impressed by how flexible she is, but this time I keep my comment to myself. Somehow I don't think either Emi or Rin are the sorts of people to think twice about the way they would work around their particular disabilities. Rin especially so. Indeed, she gives off the impression of being entirely unaware that she's missing any limbs at all. Whether or not that's a conscious decision is another matter. I'm honestly not sure.
So, Hiso, how do you like it up here?
It's quite nice, actually. I like high places, for the view. Thanks for inviting me up here. And for the lunch, too. Emi grins a 1,000-watt grin, pleased by my response, I suppose.
No problem. Feel free to eat with us next time, too, okay? I won't make you a lunch, but you can bring your own up here.
No, lunch service? I don't know. Emi looks mock offended.
Trying to take advantage of my good nature. The nerve.
She giggles.
Well, if that's your answer, I guess Rin and I will just keep eating lunch all alone.
I am suddenly assaulted by the most heart-rendering puppy dog eyes I've ever seen as Emi pouts. Kidding! I was kidding! I'd love to eat lunch up here again. Good location and the company's okay too. Emi frowns a bit at my declaration of okay, but seems happy enough that I've accepted her invitation. I guess this makes us friends now. Or at least acquaintances. The lunch bell rings, signaling a return downstairs.
Rin, you didn't finish your lunch again.
I wasn't that hungry.
If you don't eat more, you're going to fade away.
Rin shrugs as if this is an acceptable risk. Come on, we better get going. The three of us head down the stairs together. The afternoon class passes. Once again, I find myself without a plan for something to do after school, so I head to the library to return a couple of the books I finished reading. Walking inside, I see that there are about as many students here as there were on Tuesday, all the more evident from the almost total silence enveloping the room. As I drop the books I borrowed into the return slot in the counter, Yuko suddenly pops up from behind it, quite startled from the banging they make as they hit the trolley next to her. Ah, sorry, Yuko. Didn't mean to startle you.
No, that's fine. It happens a lot. I'm used to it by now. Can I help you?
It's okay. I think I know where everything is. Thanks anyway. I suppose I'll grab another book or two while I'm here. There's not much else to do, and after reading so much during my stay in the hospital, it's become a hard habit to break. I wander down to the fiction section towards the back of the library, scanning the bookshelves for anything that catches my eye. As I do, I look over to the corner where Hanako had been the last time I was here, not really expecting anything to come of it. Surprisingly, though, she's there, absorbed completely in a fairly thick book. I decide against intruding on her like last time and get back to finding reading material. After an indiscernible amount of time spent perusing the aisles, I finally decide on a couple of books to get and slide them off the shelf. With a minimum of fuss, I quickly walk over to the counter, check out my books, and pop them into my bag as I walk out. By the time I leave the main building, sunset isn't too far away. A small trickle of students remain, but the majority have left, presumably to their homes and dorms. I guess I need to buy some supplies. I can't live off cafeteria food and eating out for my entire stay here. As I leave for the gate, I make a few loud stretches to try and stave off the tiredness that's accumulated over the week. After passing through and rounding the corner, though, I see a solitary figure walking downhill towards the small town below. The color of her hair and tapping of her cane are unmistakable. I quickly walk up to her, which seems to catch her attention without a word needing to be said. "Hi, Lily." She takes a moment to place the voice, slightly adjusting her head to face a bit more towards the source of my voice as she does. "Hisao?" "Yep, that's me." She seems to have a good memory for voices. The fact that she actually remembered is a pleasant surprise. "Good evening. What brings you here?" Once again, she gives a small polite bow, and once again I reply in kind before realizing that I need to do so. "Just going into town. You?" My, what a coincidence." "Doing the same thing, eh?" I usually go shopping on Fridays." She pauses for a moment, suddenly looking a little lost. "That said, Hanako usually comes into town with me." Ah, not lost, but worried. The two do seem to keep pretty close tabs on one another. It's kind of surprising that Hanako would just forget Lily like that. I notice her reading in the library. She probably just got caught up in a book. She lets out a small sigh of relief. "Thank you. She has a habit of doing that." "Avid reader?" "Right. She doesn't like being around crowds of people, so reading away from everyone lets her relax a bit." Although she probably didn't intend it, I can't help but grimace as I recall my first meeting with her. Hardly wanting to bring it up, I remain silent as we quietly continue to walk down the quiet road. Tack, 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 tack. With the road bereft of cars and the students of Yamaku increasingly far behind us, the quiet rustling of the leaves and the measured tapping of Lily's cane against the sidewalk are all that could be heard. It's kind of nice, especially compared to the hustle and bustle of where I used to live. Before I know it, I've relaxed so much that a loud yawn escapes before I can control it. "Tired?" "Yeah, I've been running ragged these past few days." That's an understatement, to be sure. Transferring into a different school would be bad enough, but nothing like this. "Well, hopefully everything should settle down for you. The festival's got everyone in a spin right now, and you've been plopped right in the middle of things." For a moment I hesitate, but given her apparent tolerance for frankness, I decide to give my full thoughts. "I guess. Yamaku's kind of different, though. I mean the formalities surrounding everything, the isolation around it, not to mention the most obvious difference. It's kind of a whole different mindset, I suppose. I'll get used to it, though, in time." She gives a matter-of-fact nod, apparently pleased with my answer. It feels almost as if she's included me in the flock of students she's shepherding, along with Class 3-2 and Hanako. Well, not that I mind. It's nice to get the thoughts off my chest in any case. "Looking on the bright side, one could see it as a chance for a new beginning. You could cherish the ability to make new friends." That's optimistic. Nonetheless, it's good to have a positive attitude about such things, I suppose. I guess that's a good take on it. Walking on down the road, she seems to become somewhat unsettled. Before I can ask what's on her mind, she seems to collect herself and speaks up about something else. "So, where in town were you going?" That's actually a pretty good question. I'd come in to buy food, but the layout of the place is still totally foreign to me. I had intended to just wander around and see what I could find, but with sunset already approaching and nightfall not too far away, that doesn't seem very wise. I'm going to have to ask her for directions again. "I was just going to get some food, but now that you mention it, I don't really know the way." "Well now, this is quite lucky. I was just about to go to the convenience store myself." "Looks like I'll be in your care again, then. Thanks." Together, we walk to the store. My pace is carefully slowed to remain beside her. Compared to my usual walking pace, hers is quite a bit slower. Not that it's without reason. After what couldn't be more than several minutes, I catch sight of our objective. This town really is pretty small. Without further ado, we make our way inside with a greeting from the counter.
Mind if I tag along with you? Usually Hanako would help me, but seeing as she's not here...
It takes a moment before I realize what she means. Considering she wouldn't be able to read any of the labels, shopping without any help would be a big pain for her. That said, I can't shake the feeling that she had this idea since I said I was coming here. Sure, it'd be my pleasure. I grabbed 2 well-used red baskets from the small stack beside the entrance, handing one to Lily. She lays it on the ground, putting her school bag in, retracting her cane and sliding it through the basket's handles before picking it back up in her right hand. Wait, if she doesn't use her cane... Before I can complete the thought, she comes beside me and pinches the cuff of my uniform in her slender fingers.
Is this alright?
Ah, sure. I have no reason not to accept. I can think of worse things than shopping with a pretty girl holding on to me, even if it is out of necessity. We navigate our way through the store, with not one of the occasional passing customers seeming to bat an eyelid. Considering how close Shumaku is, I guess seeing students from there must be entirely normal for the local residents. As we reach each aisle, I quickly check with Lily and find out what she needs. I grab it along with what I'm looking for and put our items into their respective baskets. I guess this is the same routine she and Hanako follow every Friday. Right. All that's left is the bread, and that should be my shopping done. Do you need anything else, Lily?
No, this should be everything.
Off we go, then. With a quick side trip to the bakery section, we make our way to the registers. The line, thankfully, is almost non-existent. It's not long before we've both paid for our food and are out the door. As Lily retrieves her cane and extends it to full length, I waste a minute looking upwards at the night sky while holding both our bags. For a moment, I try to make clouds with my breath, but the summer's heat doesn't seem to cooperate. Eventually, she rights herself, taking a quick stretch before taking her bag and leaving me to my two. You tired as well? The festival preparations have been complete chaos. Shizune breathing down my neck doesn't exactly help things either. Hey, she's only trying to get everything organized. Better now than later, right?
I suppose. I'm going to enjoy relaxing in town tomorrow, that's for certain.
I guess the festival preparations must be taking their toll on both of them. We walk out into the quiet street, talking between ourselves as we carry our bags of food and supplies from the store. Wait, what's that? I notice a very distinctive figure making its way towards us, silhouetted by the street lamps. For a second I think it's another male student from my class, but as he, or should I say, she gets closer, I recognize her quickly. And I'm going to leave you guys on that little cliffhanger. We'll find out who it is next time on Katawa Shoujo Part 9. Anyway, see you later, peoples.